A couple of months ago, I made this video describing why someday Garten of Banban will save mascot horror. The video has aged perfectly with every passing day. Until today, March 5th, 2023, the release of Garten of Banban 3. And well, after playing through Garten of Banban 3, I can safely say that my theory is still correct. Garten of Banban 3 is in no means a good game, but it's also not entirely that bad. I sat through this entire game so you wouldn't have to, so here is my honest review of Garten of Banban 3. I'm going to structure this video into general points instead of a complete summary of the game, as I think that would be way more enjoyable to watch than have to hear me complain about how boring this game is. Before we get into the bad parts, I want to take some time to appreciate the things that stuck out to me as different. The Euphoric brothers have seemingly listened to some of the criticisms from their previous games. I say that very loosely, this game still kinda sucks. Banban 3 is a much more enjoyable experience compared to its earlier chapters. For instance, some of the gameplay sections feel pretty good to play. The surgery section stuck out to me in particular. Yes, that's a real section, I'm not making that up. The main objective is to mix two colors together to create a single color to use during the operation. Quite frequently will this wall of pipes in the operating room break, where you need to drop the syringe and fix the pipes. The same thing happens again, but using the drone on some buttons up above. I was very surprised how well this section and all of its complexities meshed together so well. It's not perfect, but I really enjoyed how there's more to juggle instead of just solely focusing on the objective. That is what I like to see in these type of objective-based games. Another section that stuck out in a good way to me was the Jumbo Josh escape room sequence. Around halfway through the chapter, you wake up in Jumbo Josh's room, where he believes we're dead. The objective is to escape the room without letting him know we're doing anything. So whenever he becomes active, you need to put everything back to where it belonged and return to your seat. This section made me use more than 3 brain cells, and has much better gameplay than the trial and error garbage that was so present in the second chapter. The map in Chapter 3 is a lot smaller in scope than Chapter 2. This is a really nice change in my eyes, as it feels like everything in the environment has a purpose. In Banban 2, we go down this long hallway with multiple doors that don't lead anywhere. In Banban 3, the environments are actually thought out and each room serves a purpose. Sure, you do go by a lot of closed doors, but those are usually in sections you only spent a couple of seconds in. Another vast improvement to Banban 3 is the character designs. I'm more specifically talking about Hellish Banban. I do not care what you have to say, it fits Banban so well. Albeit cliche that the one person who was guiding us in Chapter 2 turns out to be a monster, it still feels more horror-esque than anything we've seen so far. Speaking of horror, there's this one part where you have to fight this chameleon turtle hybrid, and while the boss is just alright, afterwards you can pick up this paper with some character designs on it. And I mean, they look alright. I have no clue what it is I see in these guys, but man, I really wish they do explore these guys further. They have that weird early 2000s uncanny vibe. No clue how I could even describe it. It's that good. Okay, that's everything I liked in Banban 3. Garten of Banban 3 still suffers from the same issues that it's always had. There is just so much unnecessary filler garbage present that it really distracts from the game. There's a lot of reused gameplay and ideas, walking everywhere still kinda sucks, even if it is much better than before. It just feels very meh in sections where there isn't a clear objective. Which brings me on to my next point. There is too much ambiguity in between segments. You really just have to wander around and hope that you figure it out. It's not as bad as previous chapters, but it's still annoying spending 5+ minutes wandering around hoping to randomly stumble into the next part of the game. That happened to me a lot, especially after the Nab Nab sequence. I wandered around for so long trying to figure out what I was doing. The objective thing in the top left barely shows up anymore, which doesn't help at all. While we're on in-betweens, this game is so damn forgettable. After I finished playing the game, I went to get food, came back, and forgot literally everything that happened. I had to re-watch my recording before I could start writing this because I was so mentally lost. The game has so many ideas that it crammed into such a short runtime, where only the well-thought-out ideas are memorable. Like, there's this section where you get locked in Sheriff Toadster's room, but I literally forgot that entire segment happened. It's just that boring and unmemorable. However, what I do remember are the abysmal graphics. I'm not one to criticize graphics because I play all of my games on a literal potato, but it's kinda hard not to mention it here. Garten of Banban 3 specifically has such an inconsistent art style. Like, the environments are so tone deaf, and then you switch to Stinger Flint segments with detailed water and sand. There's more examples of this too. In the main lobby area, there are these cushions, which are just clearly stolen assets, but they look so out of place I just couldn't stop thinking about it. Overall, Banban 3 looks better than the 2 previous chapters, but it's still far from looking passable. While we're kind of on graphics, Garten of Banban 3 still suffers from the same optimization issues. The models still have way too much detail for looking like poop, and the lag is just annoying in some parts. Albeit, it's more optimized than Chapter 2, but that's not a very high bar in the first place. Something Garten of Banban 3 did that I really don't like was the inclusion of flashbacks. When used properly, flashbacks can be a great storytelling device, giving further insight into a character or setting. However, in Garten of Banban, we sit in the back of a car as Stinger Flynn gets lost in a desert. I don't even want to know what's going on here. I'll leave this one for MatPat to figure out. Also, during the game you play Stinger Flynn in the flashbacks, which is fine. It's never all that great, nor does it feel like it has a purpose. It more or less just feels like forced storytelling. Another thing that just feels forced is the terrible voice acting. A common complaint from Banban 2 was how the voice actors had zero tone and were just flat out annoying to listen to. In Banban 3, funny jellyfish voice gets lower. Even worse is the fan service. I do not like this in any form of media. Fan service can be fine in small doses like a reference to a character or story beat, but Garten of Banban leans into it too much. It's so evident now that the Euphoric Brothers have accepted that their game is going to be memed on. So what have they done exactly? They've placed Opilabird, the biggest meme in video game history, into every scene with some importance. They are trying to make Opilabird important, like the most disposable character. This was so evident in the game's ending. You ride a bird to the ending where you venture deeper into the building with another bird. Just stop, no more bird. I also want to take a moment to acknowledge how goofy this chapter is. Like, there is one part where you're just in a car with Banban and a bunch of other characters. This makes no sense, and I unironically kind of enjoy it. There is so much randomness in this chapter, which kind of ties into my previous point with the Euphoric Brothers leaning more into the joke of their game. I think this is the best way they could have gone about it, honestly. I know I just shit on the fan service, but I think it's also kind of nice that the way they're leaning more into the jokes rather than blocking everyone on Twitter. This goofy direction of their game, I think, can turn the game around for the better. Let's just be honest here, Garten of Banban is an inherently silly concept, and I think if they focus on making it more goofy, they can do some seriously creepy shit with the horror aspect. I think it just feels way better than taking this game seriously. I really hope we can see more wacky shenanigans in Chapter 4. Seriously though, Garten of Banban 3, while an overall improvement to the series, still isn't good. I guess I'll see you all on July 7th, 2023 when Garten of Banban 4 drops. Mark my words.